Hey everyone, Charlie here. I hope you're all doing well. One of the most common questions I get on this channel is, does it matter where you're from or what you look like or what language is your first language if in fact you want to apply for a job teaching here over in Japan? Now, I've been putting off making this video for a while just because I wanted to make sure that when I came to you, it was with more than just like a feeling I had, right, from the limited time I've had here working. So now that I've had more time working here and I've talked to some people about this, people who have had certain experiences, as well as people in charge of doing the hiring for certain companies here, I feel like I'm a little bit better equipped to sort of answer this for you honestly. But that being said, I just want you to keep in mind that what I'm telling you is based on my experience and just based on these couple of people's experience and based on just a couple of people I've talked to about this. So of course the situation may vary depending on the company you try and go through, or case by case basis is what I'm trying to say. So the first part, does it matter where I'm from? And I think unfortunately it seems like the answer is at least a partial yes. Most English teachers that I meet here are from the United States, Canada, Australia, or the UK. And of course, when you think about those places, one of the defining features, right, is the fact that English is the first language there. Apparently, I'm speaking so loudly that Cortana can hear me on the computer there, which is a little strange, but anyway, so English, of course, is one of the defining factors there, right? At least English as a first language. But there's also sort of like, there's something at play there where people here, when they think about foreignness and when they think about the people who are most likely to speak English first, right? It's people from those countries. So that's a big thing, and that's something that we're going to talk a little bit about here in just a few minutes. Now, the second part of the question, does it matter if English is my first language? There, again, the answer is yes, and a much stronger yes, I think, because if the first most important thing is sort of like this appearance, right, and that's something, again, we're going to talk about a little bit more, then the second most important thing is your ability to actually make good on the promise that your school and thereby you will be making to any of your students, right? Like, people are there first, again, because they feel like they're going to get a connection with you as a native English speaker that they won't be getting with a Japanese person, for example, who speaks English really well, right? But also, that wears off. That wears off actually pretty quickly, I think. If people don't feel like you're teaching their kids anything, or that you don't speak English enough to teach their kids something, or things like that, that's when you start to lose students. So, now, that being said, of course, if you really speak English very well, and I mean, if you speak English like or as like close to the level of a native English speaker, right, you're gonna be completely fine. It's not gonna matter if, say, your first language is French. But that said, I want you to be really honest with yourself when you're considering whether or not you have the skill to apply for an English teacher, because, and I don't mean this to be hurtful for any of you, but a lot of people who ask me this question, just reading your comments, there are some very sort of maybe small in the grand scheme of things, but usage and grammar errors, the lack of like words like a and the, for example, that stand out a lot, that will make you stand out a lot to people who are interviewing you, who are 9 times out of 10 going to be, at least at first, people from places, the aforementioned, America, Canada, places around the UK, Australia, New Zealand. There are going to be a lot of people who will notice those mistakes stand out. So if you're honest with yourself, that's something you can improve upon and focus on, and then sort of get over this rather serious hurdle. And point number 3, right? Point number 3, no matter where you come from, does it matter what you look like? Yes, sadly. This is pretty unfortunate. I can count, I'm just talking to a friend of mine who had an unfortunate experience recently. I can count on my hand the number of English teachers here that I know who are not white men or women, or if they aren't white, they're men or women who are from America, right? And typically people, non-white people who come here to teach are black or Hispanic. I have never once in my life met someone of Asian descent who comes over here to teach, and that's something that we should talk about a little bit too. Let's sort of compact what we've already talked about, right? It does matter where you come from, but it's not insurmountable. It does matter if English is your first language, but again, that is not insurmountable. And it does matter to a certain extent what you look like, but that also is not insurmountable. Now, if you're wondering why all of these things are such a big deal, it unfortunately comes down to you being a product, right? This is something I mentioned already, but when people think about going to learn English from a native English speaker, they aren't thinking about they aren't thinking about somebody who's from like a Middle Eastern country or from India where English might be their first language, or some kind of situation like that, right? They're thinking about people who blonde hair, maybe blue eyes, maybe, or at least look Western, right? Which is why you have people who maybe are American of Asian descent who they go in and they find it really, really hard to find a job because their appearance, particularly if they speak Japanese, sort of works against them because it violates this sort of image that people have of the product that they want. And ultimately, in the end of the day, it sucks, but that's what you are as a teacher. You're, of course, selling the service of your teaching service and the knowledge you have of your language, but you're also sort of selling this image that people are looking for, and really that's unfortunately what it comes down to. Now that being said, there are plenty of places who do hire people who come from a place that isn't one of those countries I talked about, who do speak English as a second language, and who look not at all like me. Something's happening over here. I'm not it's making noise, but who don't fit this sort of stereotype of what a foreign teacher should be, right? And they do fine. For example, in my company, there's a guy from India, and there's another fellow who I think is maybe Moroccan, who speaks English really, really well, and so and he's a really great teacher and all of these things, so he's able to sort of overcome these problems I've talked about, right? So I don't make this video with any intention to sort of crap on any of your guys' dreams out there. If you're from, if maybe you're not from those countries, or you don't speak English as a first language, or you don't necessarily look like the standard make and model of what a foreign English teacher should be here. But I just want to point it out to you and answer this question for you honestly, so that you realize that maybe you will have a hurdle, right? A bigger hurdle to get over than, say, somebody who is just, ultimately what it comes down to, right, is like, I was just lucky enough to be born in America and have English be my first language and to look like this, right? And I know how frustrating that is for some of you, just talking to you, who probably, you have education backgrounds, you're trained teachers, and yet it's harder for you to get a job than someone like me who I have a history degree, right? So, as I've always said, there are these sort of negative sides to it, and these are these things that could potentially hold you back, but I would just really, really, really encourage you to just keep working your ass off, and eventually you will find something. There are people here in your situation who have found jobs, and so, don't give up. Please don't give up. I really, really encourage you to just keep going. So anyway, I'm glad I could finally address this issue. I hope I answered these questions in sort of a satisfactory way. If there's something that I failed to mention that I should have mentioned, you guys who are teaching here, you guys who have had trouble because of the way you look or because of the language you speak, let us know about that down in the comments below. And if you have any further questions on this issue, please let me know about those too. So thanks always for watching, guys. Hope you found this informative. Please like, share, and comment, and see you all very soon indeed.